Yeah, I really want to hit on the VA situation because I got a lot of questions and just want to learn.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, do you maybe want to start with like a little intro of what you're doing right now?
Sure. Okay. What am I doing?
Mm.
So just coming off the win of winning America's Test Kitchen, the next generation. So I'm fully in writing my cookbook. So I have weekly cookbook meetings with their team. I'm cooking all the time, producing content around my cookbook to also promote it. So full in that. We'll get started shooting season 23 also. So I'll be in Boston shooting that. And then I guess my regular job, being a virtual assistant.
Mm-hmm.
I work for Elevated Assist. It is a virtual assisting agency. My sorority sister started it.
Oh, cool.
So we were both freelancing around the same time, and then we're just talking about it. She was like, "I'm going to start an agency. Come work for me." So I was like, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
I did branding in corporate, and I liked it, but I really wanted to do social media and content creation, and just that. And sometimes in corporate, just doing content creation doesn't always work out.
You could have, Ugh. Real quick,
Yeah.
Lance, how do we sound? Are we good?
Our levels is a little low. If you want to check it.
Cool. You could probably just turn up the far left, top knob.
Oh, top knob.
Yep.
Up here?
Yep. So that'll be her gain. We didn't actually gain stages properly like we should, but it'll be fine.
Yeah. Hey, I'm here.
Hey,
talking.
there we go.
There we go.
Yeah. So in the future, we'll gain stage it, but we're a little
That's all
behind
good.
today, so we
That
won't do
sounds
it
a lot
right.
better.
All right, cool. Yeah, we haven't done this setup before, so
Okay.
this is a little bit more of a permanent setup, and we get a little bit more control. So,
Dope.
sorry.
I like it. No, it's all good.
So I know I said I want to get into the VA thing, but then you mentioned like going back for season 23.
Yes.
Is that right? So now that you've won, what does that mean for you with ATK?
So I do join the America's Test Kitchen team, and we're still talking about what that looks like, you know, on the long term, if that means me relocating, if me still working virtually. So we're figuring that out. But right now, the main focus is the cookbook because it does come out Q4.
Well, you can come in here, shoot
I
all
would
your
love
stuff,
to. It's so dope.
make it
in
look
here.
like you're in Boston. You know, we'll go up, get some B-roll for you.
So
No.
definitely, it's super dope in here.
You like it?
Oh
Really?
my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the design is really nice. It's warm, cozy, but
Right?
still very kind of like modern. I like
Yeah.
it.
Is it a space you feel like you could use?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we're always just looking for feedback, you know. So
No,
cool.
yeah. I like it. It has a very clear point of view with the design,
Yeah.
which I like.
Yeah. Rebecca's design. If you go to her new restaurant in the distillery district, what is it? District 7 Social.
Oh,
That's her place.
I just met her this weekend. That's so crazy.
Oh, okay.
We were there. Me and my friend went. I was sitting at the bar. She comes over. She's like, "Yeah, I'm the owner of this space," and she was telling
that's
us about
funny.
it. So
Yeah.
yes,
So you know Rebecca now.
I do, and
Yeah.
I've been to the space, and I liked it there
Yeah.
too.
Literally the same couch came from, oh my gosh, what is it called? Relic.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's over there. Yeah. So they sell these couches. That's where this came from. You have the same one over there. If you look at some, I don't know, design patterns, but some of this is over at the restaurant as well. So
Dope.
yeah.
She has great taste.
yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
What were we even talking about? We've talked about everything already. I think
That's
we're
good
done.
conversation, right?
Yeah. Maybe let's talk about the VA thing
Okay.
a little bit more.
Awesome.
So what's it like? You said your sorority sister started
Yes.
the company, right?
Yes.
So what was that like going from sorority sisters to now, you know, professionals with a business relationship?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I think our personalities work really well in business with what each one of us is really good at. So the transition, like, it just kind of worked. We were both doing freelancing. Her background is in healthcare administration. My educational background is in journalism, but professionally I was doing digital marketing. So we were in that space and just really talking about how we were able to monetize our skills to make extra money.
Yeah.
So I, did email marketing, social media marketing, and I was able to present those skills to other business owners who needed it done. And then as I build those relationships, they're like, "Hey, can you do this? Can you do that?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Of course."
How'd you get into social, by the way?
How did I get into social? So 2015 graduated from UK, journalism
me too.
degree.
Okay.
Okay, alum. Journalism degree, minor in English Lit. We were starting to get into social media and the social aspect of journalism. So I was intrigued there. And then I ended up getting pregnant my senior year, so I couldn't go into news. But I really enjoyed.
Why couldn't you go into news?
Let's tell this story. So I had an interview.
Okay.
I had an interview at one of the local news stations.
Is this going to be one of those nonsense stories of like
No,
a
no,
pregnant
no.
lady comes in and because you hear these people that call up and they're like, oh, there's an anchor sitting at the desk with she shouldn't show her stomach.
Oh yeah, and that is
nonsense.
bizarre. I think that's
Yeah.
very weird. But no,
Is that where, okay, we're not going.
No, no, no,
okay,
no.
good.
I had an interview at a news station, and when you're starting out in journalism, very entry level. I was 6 months pregnant. They were telling me my hours, and I was like, I can't do the
yeah.
weekends till 2 a.m. I just can't.
Yeah.
So I had to figure out something else.
What was your role going to be, by the way?
What was it? It was like a weekend editor of some
Okay.
sort.
Got it.
So yeah, so having to stay after the last newscast, make sure everything is ready, for the
Yeah.
final show. So those types of things. So I was like, okay, well, what can I do with journalism? What skills are similar? I like to write. We learned how to use a video camera, shoot our own stand-ups. I like content creation. Let me see if I can put this into marketing.
Yeah.
I did a marketing internship while I was in college, so I was like, okay, let me see what it can come out of. And nothing came out of it for a while. So I worked in like admin. I did,
Where'd you do your internship?
what is it? So I did it at Furman University with IMG College.
Wait, where'd you go to school?
I went to UK. So my dad was a football coach. It's a long story.
Okay.
I've lived all over.
Well, I grew up in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So my parents, they lived in,
I've been to Furman a million times as a high school kid.
perfect. Yeah. He was a
Yeah.
football coach there.
Okay.
So we lived in Greenville.
Yeah. Well, I taught at
Taylor's.
Boiling Springs High School, which is in Spartanburg.
I know exactly where Spartanburg is.
Yeah.
Okay, so small world. So I did my internship there. So I had that kind of experience. I was like, well, let me see if I can use that to, pull a marketing gig.
Yeah.
And eventually, through just kind of hustling, working, letting people know my skills, trying things out on my own, doing lots of free work, which I don't always recommend, but sometimes, you got to do what you got to do. I was able to get a marketing coordinator position at a CBD company.
Okay.
And I loved it. I felt like I'm in corporate marketing. I'm, doing a little bit of social media. I'm learning amazing skills when it comes to email marketing, coming up with campaigns, product development, all of that. But I just felt like this isn't quite what I want to do. Like, I still just want to do content creation.
Well, and part of that too, you said is CBD company,
Yeah.
which has so many different restrictions and things that you could put out there. So
Yes.
that must have been tough.
That was very hard for social because, you
Yeah.
can't do any Facebook ads. You
Yeah.
can really only do organic reach. And then with working with a company, you have to go through legal with everything.
Right.
So it was hard. As
It's
you can
probably
imagine.
good learning though, because you had too many bumpers basically, or like too many
Yes.
rules and guidelines.
Absolutely. I'll
Maybe
say
not too many, but you know what I mean.
no, definitely. I'll say that job really taught me working across different teams, and like communicating with different departments that have different communication styles. So like, me, a creator, talking to legal, talking to operations. It was interesting, but it was fun. But I still wasn't really feeling like this is what I want to do. So I just started doing what I wanted to do. Finding people who needed that service, whether it be through social media. And
Were you doing that on the side? Okay.
I was doing that on the side. I somehow managed to get a client. I ordered some products from her, and it was a little bit of issue, getting them shipped to me. And instead of making it a big deal, I was just like, hey, I offer these services. I noticed that, you were lacking in these areas. I'd love to join your team. And she was like, you know what, I'm actually looking for somebody like that. Absolutely. So I was like, oh, wow, I got my first freelance client.
Funny what happens when you ask.
Definitely. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, so crazy. And through that, anytime she needed anything, I did it. So learned Adobe Illustrator, learned Photoshop, was creating her graphics, her logos, and all of that. And then me and my sorority sister, we're communicating about it. And she was like, hey, I'm kind of doing the similar thing for a guy I know. I'm going to start an agency. Come work for me. So she started the agency, started doing that. We had clients. And to make a very long story less long, 9 months after I started working for her, I was able to quit my job.
Wow.
And I worked full-time for her agency, Elevated Assist. And then from when we started, I think that was 2020 when I started working for her, fall 2020. From then to now, we've really grown, added multiple agents to the, to the firm, and really niched down. You know, we really work with digital entrepreneurs.
Isn't that funny how you start wide because you just say yes to everything and then you go, yeah, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Listen, and it's funny because I tell my clients, I feel like people are afraid to niche down because they feel like it closes them off to their, you know, audience. And it's like, no, niching down is perfect because it allows people to actually hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
So it's like you can speak specifically to your audience and they can hear those things that, you know, those little signals that go off that's like, hey, that's for me.
Yeah.
And you're able to actually increase your clientele.
Yeah.
So we niche down. We work specifically with digital entrepreneurs, so people who have online courses, ebooks, you know, that realm, mentorships or masterminds, online coaching, really people who are making their money through social media and courses that they can sell, you know, in their sleep.
Yeah.
And really locked into that community, and we're able to really grow.
How do you enjoy working with that community?
I love it.
Yeah.
I do.
What is it about those individuals that you're passionate about?
A lot of them are my peers.
Okay.
So that is really a cool thing. Just working in corporate, I never worked with people who were around my age or who looked like me. So that was the main thing. And a lot of them come from corporate backgrounds, leaving that and then working for themselves and basically selling their own knowledge. So it's kind of really similar in understanding that kind of exit from a corporate lifestyle to being your own entrepreneur or being your own boss. So it's a lot of similarities. I feel like we understand each other. So we understand not a lot of meetings. We can get this all accomplished through a text.
Right?
It's like we're all on the
Yeah.
same page.
Yeah.
And that was another thing we noticed too when we first started. We worked with all types of entrepreneurs, and it's like, we can't do these multiple meetings and all these email communications, and why can't you just respond to the text? So in niching down, we were also able to find people who we just worked well with.
Why is that important?
Oh my gosh. I think one, for your sanity. Like,
Do you mean like on your team? Or do you mean the clients?
I think
that you work with?
both.
Yeah.
I think both. Because, like, being a VA, I work with my client. I only have one now, and I'm more in the, like, personal assistant role. So we communicate all the time. So it's not just being able to work well together. Your personalities have to match. Your lifestyles have to match. It's about really understanding your client, too. So if we're kind of on the same wavelength, when it comes to getting work done, it's super easy.
So what do you do to try to understand the client?
Ooh, let's see. Lots of pre-work. So like we do a lot of, you know, we have our initial onboarding call where I just kind of get to know you, learn a little bit about your business, but it's a lot of like understanding what your goals are, right? So understanding, your client tells you what they want done, but what is in 3 months, what is the actionable item that once it's completed is going to make them happy? And figuring out and making sure they know what that is too. So like when I work with clients who need social media management work, it's like, okay, do you want a lot of followers or do you want a lot of sales? So I can get you either one.
Yeah.
But it's very
They
important.
always say sales, but then you got to dig in and be like, well, here's why that won't work.
Exactly.
You're so new, or whatever. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in growing in our business, in my role, realizing how to have that conversation with somebody. Because sometimes that can be hard to tell someone, this is your goal. I don't know how we're going to get there now.
I just had a call with one of our current clients that wants to add on doing some digital advertising and stuff. And, you know, this is a client that's offering to pay us more money to do an additional service. And I started out the call with like, I don't even know if this is a thing you should be doing. It was like, do we have an acquisition problem? Do we have a conversion problem? Because those two things are totally different. And throwing ads at the wrong problem, you know, you're just wasting money at that point.
Absolutely. And I think
people value that too.
100%. Like I always tell people, you don't always want to take everybody. Everybody's not for you, and that's okay. Keep the relationship. They'll appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
But if you can't deliver, you got to let them know.
Yeah, they want to know if you can really help them, even if, you know, we're going to take a hit by not doing it. But I think
Exactly.
that's going to help them long term. We're doing other things for them anyway. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's about that long term relationship, I think.
Yes, and that's something too that I've learned with VAs. It's all about relationships. Like I travel with my client now. Whenever he puts on events, I'll plan out his events, and I take care of like the minor details. Right, we have a party planner. I work with a party planner, but things as far as like, okay, what's going to be on the menu? What are the small things that we need to do when people enter? What's the mingling aspect going to look like? Like, you know, all the little minor things that are very important. So I handle those things now. And it's all about reading people and just really understanding, being a people person.
Yeah. And I guess over time, you probably figure out that, like, when they say this, they really mean this.
Absolutely.
When they want this, they actually mean this.
Yes.
And all of that.
No, yeah. And that's what a lot of our like initial onboarding calls are. It's just really establishing the goals and making sure that we're speaking the same language because, and one of the things I learned with working in corporate is me being a creative, speaking to someone who is very technical, maybe in an operations role, not understanding that the content creation part is going to take some time before we might see a return, letting them know that, getting their expectation around that.
How do you have that conversation with the client, by the way? Because that's always one of the tougher things to be upfront.
Yeah.
And say, like, listen, content is part of brand building, and it's a component of many other components of what you're doing, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not like selling a t-shirt on, you know, it's not direct sales.
No, yeah.
It's not what this is. So how do you talk about it with people?
One, I think it goes back to really establishing their initial goals. And I always just like to break it down to three in 3 months. What do you want to see? And then going back to that. So like, if they tell me, it's hard, but if they tell me it's like, I want to grow my social media page. It's like, okay, that's a goal, social media growth. But I can also just sense, or also just see they have a product. I just go ahead and ask. This is the goal that you're telling me, but I see we have products. Is the expectation here to grow, you know, sales as well? It's just asking questions. I think you just got to ask the questions. And you have to know what questions to ask. And I think that just comes from experience. Because I can remember clients a lot in the beginning where I didn't know what questions to ask. And then you come back maybe 2 weeks later and realize their goal isn't attainable. And then what do you do then?
What do you do then?
What do you do then? I think we have a strategy session and we sit down and you let them know, like, hey, this is what we initially discussed. This was the route that we were going to take to increase followers, if that's the example that we're using. But I'm seeing that the feedback that you're giving me is now more to increase revenue. We can do that. We would just need to shift strategies. With that strategy shift, we're going to have to stop doing X, Y, and Z and then move on to doing that. I can write this all down. I think people love it when you write it down so they can visually see it. I can redo the proposal for you just so that we have a visual representation of what we're working on, and then we can move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so many times whenever we get on these kind of phone calls with a prospective client or current client, and we're almost just like the arbiter of the information they already have in their head.
Yeah.
But we're that third party that can just add clarity to it and sort of just add confidence that what they were thinking is correct, or which parts were maybe correct, which parts need altered, that
Absolutely.
sort of thing.
Like the organizer, like they have the ideas that they want. It's just maybe figuring out how to turn that into an actionable plan.
Yeah.
So it's not an idea. We actually have steps to get it done.
Yeah. And can you go into a VA and what that really is?
Sure.
Because I know VAs are a really hot topic right now, and a lot of people want one.
Yes.
So
okay, so VA stands for virtual assistant. And in a broad sense, a VA can do anything that you need for them to do. They just work virtually. So you're communicating with them through email, phone, text.
Do you have a preferred method, by the way? Do you think video's best? Do you think email's best? What?
I think it depends. I think in the beginning, you need to do a lot of video contact with your client just so that they can get familiar with you. I think it builds credibility in the beginning as well. So if I do any onboardings, I always do them through Zoom. Of course, if you don't want to, that's fine.
I always like that, setting the tone, like with a face.
Exactly, yeah. And I don't mind if they don't turn theirs on, but you see me, you see my background. I think a lot goes into that very first impression.
For sure.
So even though it's virtually, making sure, background well lit, good camera, I look presentable because I'm working for your team. So, it needs to have that same in-person feel.
And I totally interrupted you. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Conversation. That's conversation. But what is the VA? So yeah, virtual assistant, work virtually. And it just depends. Like our virtual assistants, we work specifically with digital entrepreneurs. So we work with those people because we understand all the different tasks that they may need. So you might need email management. You might need a funnel created. You might need social media posts done. You might be working on a product launch. So you need a marketing plan. We know all of the things that specific niche needs. So we're able to provide them with all of that. We do also understand our clients' incomes increase very rapidly through social media. So things are very quick. You might go from needing a virtual assistant to also a personal assistant. So then I might need to be available at 11 o'clock at night because you're on the West Coast. So we service our clients because we have a specific niche. Anything that they need, we know we can get it done. From a broader standpoint, though, if you're like looking for a virtual assistant, be very specific, or not very specific, but understand what your goals are, and find an agency that is targeted to you.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to ask you, so you were talking about digital entrepreneurs being your focus.
Yes.
So how, from your standpoint, how do you do something that's almost like templatized of like, this is a skeleton structure of what we know works, but how do you keep that personal at the same time and make it contextual to a client?
Sure. So in our first calls, we focus a lot on branding too. So that's my background, digital marketing, branding. So in addition to using our, the templates that we know work, the kind of systems that we know work with product launching, it's understanding our client and their audience first. Yep. So a lot of our work there is just making sure that not only do we know, but that our client knows. Because sometimes I can identify a target audience, but in the head of our client, it might be completely different. So we spend a lot of work, or in the beginning, before we even start pairing you with your assistant on that, and making sure we're on the same page as far as how you're presenting yourself on social media, because it's really important. You kind of only get, I don't want to say one time to make a first impression on social. You can create a new page, but you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of all of your, all the content you put out there.
Yeah. I'm thinking back in our, maybe 20 minutes or so that we've been going, and I'm just like, how in the world do you go from this level of expertise in what you're doing as VA to now you're in a kitchen?
Oh, I know.
And I would love to hear that
Sure.
that journey. And I know you've probably told this 100 times, but
No,
I don't know it.
It's all good. So let's see. So as I was trying to find a job in, social media marketing or social media content creation, I figured a big way for me to kind of show my portfolio is to show my own social media. So I started creating content through food, with me just liking food, enjoying being in the kitchen, and really being able to show my skills through that. So like my ability to edit video, my ability to utilize trending topics, my ability to figure out my own branding and marketing myself. I started to use that as kind of on my resume when I would try to find clients, or even when I was, in pursuit of a traditional corporate job. So lots of practice there. I did it on the weekends. I spent a lot of time just working on my craft and perfecting my content creation ability, kind of on the side. And then how we kind of got to America's Test Kitchen was my aunt saw the post on social media and she sent it to me. I was familiar with America's Test Kitchen, but I didn't know about the competition. She was like, you should apply. I think you'd
How
be
were you
great.
familiar with it, by the way?
My parents watch it.
Okay.
Faithfully.
Got it.
All the time. So
because is there a NPR station version of it, right?
yeah,
like
so
you could listen to
it airs
right?
on PBS.
Right.
And then it's on Amazon Freevee now.
Right. I'm saying NPR. Yeah.
Yeah. PBS.
Right.
I knew what you meant.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. That's how I know it, actually. It's from radio.
Oh,
Yeah. Which might be weird. I don't know. But that's how I know of it.
awesome. See, the importance of being on multiple mediums.
Right? Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So I heard about it there. So I applied, and then was really able to lean on a lot of that social media content that I produced in my application, and pictures that I had taken from my social media to really showcase my cooking skills. So that's, I guess, how I got on the show.
Yeah. I mean, where'd you learn cooking?
Oh, it's just a hobby I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I really
You didn't have older person in your life that like you went and shadowed, and that's how it got started?
No,
and...
like my mom doesn't cook.
Oh, really?
She's very clear. She's always says, I don't cook, I put meals together. So that is her thing. Rotisserie chicken, bag salad, baked potatoes. She doesn't cook, but we would eat out a lot growing up. And whenever we would eat out, she would, my parents would say, get whatever you want. So
Yeah.
I built a love for food, for being able to just be adventurous and try different things.
Because you went out and
Yes.
tried different things. Interesting. So what do you credit your palate with? Like, where'd you get that from? Was it literally just from that, going and trying different things?
Trying different things. I think a mixture of, like I always say, my culinary perspective is Southern fusion. I've lived in various different parts of the South, Kentucky, South Carolina. I'm originally from North Carolina, Tennessee. So though they're all from the South, the food is a little bit different in the regions. So I like to combine all of that together to kind of give you an elevated, more refined Southern homey meal.
Yeah. I'm curious, what's the community like of people that have been on these shows? We've had Sam Four. She was here like a month ago. Let's see, Brandy Romines, who was on Baking Impossible. and now yourself.
Yes.
And so I'm curious, like, do you all know each other? Do you talk? Like, I don't know how this works.
Sure.
People that have been contestants, whether you win or not.
Yeah. I don't. I would love to connect with, more people who are locally, who are in the food world and in the food
Okay.
scene and competed. So that would be great.
That's wild to me that
And there's so many
we're
are
a small
from.
enough place that I would think that everybody would kind of know about each other
Yeah.
or know each other in some respect.
No, yeah. You can be the person that makes the connection
I
through the
guess that'll be
podcast.
me.
But yeah, I
That's
would love
funny.
to connect with them. But I think it's so crazy too that even here in Lexington, who would have thought?
Yeah. Oh, and Dan Wu, he hasn't been on here, but he's now what, vice mayor of Lexington.
No, yeah,
So yeah, pretty wild.
it is.
What do you think it is about Lexington and the culinary sort of scene that's going on here that's allowed us to have such a, again, it's not the biggest city in the world, of course. It's pretty comfortable size. So how in the world are we having all these successful people in the culinary scene coming out of here?
That's a good question. You know what? Part of me feels like the agriculture part has a big, part to do with it. Just the good food, produce that comes out of Kentucky and that we can get locally. I'm looking forward to farmers market season so that I can.
Is that April? Is that when that starts?
Is it
March, April,
maybe
somewhere
like
in there, right?
somewhere around there soon,
Yeah.
right? So I'm excited.
Might
But
be snowing. Who knows?
I'll be there, coat and all.
80 degrees today in
Exactly,
February.
snowing tomorrow. But I think that has a big part to do with it, right? I think there are so many good just local shops here where you can find cool ingredients. You can find someone who makes maybe some artisan something. I think it's just a good place for that, for like local
Yeah.
homegrown things.
Where do you like to eat? Do you like to make food? I should ask this too. Do you like to make food more or go out to eat? Because apparently your background is in going out to eat.
Yeah, I like both. I think going out to eat expands my palate and introduces me to new things. So it's kind of like a combination of the two. I like to go out to eat. Whenever I go out to eat, I like a new restaurant. I like to get something that I usually wouldn't get. Or if I'm with someone, I'd be like, order for me. What do you get?
Yeah.
I don't always like to get the same thing. So I think it's a combination of the two. With me writing this cookbook, I cook during the week, but on the weekends I'm done.
Got it.
I've just been trying new places. That's why I went to the new place in the distillery district
Yeah.
this last week to try it out. So
How was it?
it was good.
Yeah, what'd you
It was
get?
good. We went for the cocktails. So I got a few of those. Very delicious. I liked it too because it was just a good feel. It was a good atmosphere. You had the bowling in the back.
Yep.
It was fun. It wasn't too stuffy. It was just good vibes there.
Good. Did you go with a small group, big group?
Just me and my other friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we went. We sat at the bar, enjoyed that for a little bit, and then went to some other places in the distillery district.
Yeah, that's cool. So what kind of food, if you go out, what are you trying to eat? Obviously, you said that you like to try different things and,
Yes.
and whatever, but do you go purposefully like, I'm going to eat something I've never had before? Or is it just you happen to
no.
roll up on a place you've never been?
It's always planned. I like
Okay.
to find my place. I like to look at the menu ahead of time. I like to figure out, okay, am I going to do a cocktail? Am I going to do a wine? Pair the wine with what I plan to eat. I like for it to be an experience. So I do take a lot of time to plan it on the weekends. And then also take my daughter too. I think it's a good way to teach her, table manners, how to speak up for yourself, talking to the waiter. May I have
Yeah.
this? May I have that?
Does she try different things too?
She does.
Yeah.
Which I'm really proud of her. Now, she won't go back if she doesn't like it, but she'll take one bite to try it. So that's
Yeah.
fun.
So how do I do that? I have a 5-year-old, like I told you, and a 5-month-old.
Okay.
The 5-year-old, he's just getting out of like the chicken and fries all the time kind of mode, and now he's like, we're walking through Kroger, he sees a whole fish, he's like, oh, I might try that. You know?
Yes.
So does it just happen on its own? Can you help to actually cultivate that in children? How
I
do you
think
do
so.
it?
I think encouraging them to try it and letting them know, like, if you don't like it, that's okay. Or if they don't like it, helping them understand why. So we did a charcuterie board, and I was introducing my daughter to all the different cheeses. She's not a big fan of blue cheese or gorgonzola. So I was like, well, why not? What does it taste like? So getting her to understand and be able to articulate those things so that she knows what she likes. Because sometimes you just might not like something, right? And that's cool. But knowing why, and then so that you're able to make, an educated guess the next time to try something.
Interesting. Where do you like to eat around here?
Where do I like to eat? Oh my gosh, where do I like to eat?
You're going to tell me, I don't know,
I don't know. I like
something off the wall.
I feel like
Unexpected.
I feel like even though I do go out often, I feel like there's so many places I haven't been. Like every time I go out, I'm driving past a place. I'm like, oh, what's that? What's this? So I feel like my knowledge to be able to say where I like to go, I feel like I need somebody to introduce me to the spots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's the spot that you haven't been but you want to go?
Where's the spot I want to go? Ooh, I love Italian food. So I went to, what is it? Italiex, but I want to I want to try Frankendino's.
Yep. I still haven't been over there either.
Really? I want to go. I keep telling myself I'm going to go for lunch. I think it's fairly new. I forget what it's called, but it's over there in, what is that? The Chevy Chase area. It's a new restaurant close to the liquor barn. It's a cafe. Oh, I can't think of the name.
I'm just kidding.
I can't think of it. It's a little bit farther down. I think it's owned
I don't
by.
go over there anymore.
Really?
I used to. We used to live in Tate's Creek area.
It's
but I
not
don't live over
crazy
there now.
living in Lexington. How like if you move to a different area, it's like the other side of town is just completely cut off. Like you don't go anymore.
Yeah, it's wild. I used to live in Fort Collins in Colorado. And I mean, it's like maybe a mile long, the whole city. And I remember people complaining all the time, like, oh, I gotta go back home. I'm like, are you kidding me? It'll take you 2 minutes. Here, I think it's obviously much bigger, but it's just traffic is such a pain in the butt. That's the part for me that sucks.
I feel like that too. But then I'll talk to my friends who live in like Dallas or other areas, and they're looking at me like, girl, please. And I'm like, listen, for me,
it's all perspective.
Exactly.
I guess, right?
I can't be in the car too long, so I can't do it.
Yeah. I think not to think too hard about that, but it's one of those things of like when you're on a mission to go do something and you have like this goal in mind, but then you have to go out of your way to like, you got to divert to go back somewhere or whatever. Like that takes away from the thing that you're trying to make happen.
Yes.
And I don't think it matters what size the city is. It's like, I have this goal. I want to do that.
Exactly.
Does that kind of make sense?
No, it does.
I think
Regardless,
that's where the frustration comes in.
I agree. Even if it was just like a 5-minute detour that in another city might take 30 minutes, it's still like, I was supposed to get home in 10 minutes. Why did it take me 15? This is not what I had envisioned. So I feel you.
Where's your favorite place to eat?
Favorite?
Anywhere.
Oh, and like anywhere?
Yeah. What's like the first place that came to mind? Because I'm sure there were maybe like 2 or 3 names. You're like, I don't know. Maybe
That's
this place
the thing.
or that
Like,
place.
I like new places. Like, I don't have a favorite.
So you don't like to go back to places over and over? You like to keep...
Yeah, like,
going
or if
for
I do,
new
I'll
ones?
try something new every time. Like, yeah. Is that weird?
No. I think that's cool.
Okay, yeah, I just don't
I wish I could do that even more.
You can do it. Just try.
I know. South Carolina barbecue or North Carolina barbecue?
Eastern Carolina barbecue,
Because that's what...
absolutely.
that's not tomato based.
No,
That's
vinegar base.
right?
Yes,
Okay,
vinegar
cool.
base. Pulled pork, a little bit of coleslaw. That's all you need.
I lived in South Carolina for 24 years, 25 years, and didn't really care about barbecue.
Really?
Then I leave, and it's like, all I want to eat is barbecue.
You got to. I have a recipe
I don't know why.
for a 1-hour barbecue burnt ends.
Ooh,
Yes, you have to try 'em.
okay.
They're so good. They won me the competition. You have to try 'em.
Really?
Yes.
Okay,
You
okay.
have to try them.
Okay. I have to admit, I have not watched the show.
It's okay. It's
I'm putting
okay.
it out there.
It's okay.
You could judge it by my
It gives you
reaction
something to
just now.
do.
Yeah, right?
Now
I
you
need
have
to.
something to do.
Well, anytime I watch TV, it's usually in the background because I'm still working on
Same.
my phone and
I
that
feel
kind
you.
of thing. So, what is maybe the flavor that you detest the most? I don't want to put a place on blast. Maybe a flavor can be on blast.
I like it. I like it. I do not like cherry almond flavored anything.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of public restroom soap.
I was going to say medicine or
Yes.
something like that.
And
Yeah,
I used to work in the food court at the mall.
Where'd you work?
I worked at the food court in the mall at Mall St. Matthews because I went to high school in Louisville.
Okay.
And I worked at Maki of Japan Oriental Eatery. So I would hand out samples of bourbon chicken in high school. I feel like now the kids would be very embarrassed by that. But at the time, working at the mall was so cool. So
Right?
it didn't matter that I was handing out samples of bourbon chicken. I was at the mall. I got to see everybody. I had the hookup on the free food. It was fun.
That sounds good. Oh, you said bourbon chicken. Now I'm starving. My stomach's over here just like growling. I might be going there after this.
You can never go wrong, I feel like, with food court bourbon chicken and rice.
Right?
It's so
So
good.
good.
Anywhere.
In a weird question, maybe, because you were talking about standing out there giving out stuff. You were talking about free earlier and doing
Oh, yeah,
work
yeah.
too. I'm curious, I've had some friends, I'm trying to word this and walk the line nicely. I've had some friends that run television shows that were told, like, hey, you should do that. Like, you need to be giving your food out for, to customers. Come out here and let them try it so that they know that they want to come in and try more or buy more from you. And they did it for the show, but they wouldn't actually do it in real practice. And I don't know if that's an ego thing. I don't know where that comes from. But, like, why is that important? To stand there and hand out a product for free and let them try it, whether it's bourbon chicken or something else.
I think you always got to let people try it. You got to let people know what you're offering. And sometimes it is to give them a little taste. I think it's important to be strategic with the taste that you give, right? And understand how much of that taste, whether it's time or money, really costs you, so that you're not giving away too much for free. But you got to give a little bit, for free first.
Yeah. Well, and especially in a marketplace, basically, which that is, you're trying to find an advantage. Like, how do I get them to come over here and not to the place next door? Right?
Absolutely. And like, compared to maybe a product-based business or clothing, right? You see the clothes, so you know what you're going to get. When I offer a service, it's a little bit harder, right?
Yeah.
I can show you what I've done for somebody else, but a lot of that kind of client, consultant relationship is really, like I said, understanding. So we need to have that communication. We need to have that interaction. So you can not just see the products that I can do, but also what it's like just working with me.
Yeah. And I kind of want to go back to food with maybe a bigger question of, like, what's the role of food for you? Like, what's its purpose in your life?
I think making connections. I've met so many people through just food, whether it be at a restaurant, whether it be from competing on America's Test Kitchen, from the contestants that I've met, from then just from social media, right? Before being on the show, people who might have run across my recipes and have followed me, and we've made connections and shared recipes and things like that. I think also a creative aspect. It allows me to have an outlet. I work a lot, so sometimes I need something to just be creative, not have to look at a screen. Something that allows me to use my hands in different aspects of my creativity, right? My palate, my sense of smell, those types of things. So I would definitely say connections and creativity.
Well, and you're in client services, so you're always doing something for someone else. And it sounds like a time where you could do something for you.
100%. Right? And I always say it's important to be intentional when you eat. Sit down, set the table, or get your space together, put it on a plate, get you a nice, beverage to go with it, and take the time to really enjoy your meal.
Yeah. What makes a successful contestant, do you think? Like, what do you think that you did that made you rise to the top?
I think being able to bounce back.
Okay.
Because, you might have good days, you might have bad days, and I think sometimes if you get stuck in that, okay, I just did poorly, they're going to be thinking about that, it gets you in a cycle of like a downward spiral. I think being able to take criticism and being able to adapt really easily and being able to move forward. Because there were some times where maybe I didn't cook something very well or didn't do something and got some negative feedback. So easily I could have held on to that, and I think it would have affected my performance in a negative way.
So how do you move on? Like, what,
Yeah, I think taking the criticism, taking the feedback, analyzing it, not taking it personal. Like, if it wasn't good, it wasn't good, right? Figuring out why wasn't it good. Why was it not good? Because I didn't know. Did I make a mistake? And then figuring out that's not an attack against me. I just missed something, or that wasn't an attack against me. I just maybe wasn't paying attention to this component. I think you got to take feedback. You got to be able to be coachable. You have to be able to listen to, someone else's opinion, but not take it in a personal way.
Yeah. Do you like the idea of going for it, going big, putting your own personality into it versus I know the judging panel and I know some of the things that they like, and I'm going to make sure that I try to do what they like to try to win them over? Like, that seems like the safer way to go, So I'm curious, what would you do? Or what have you done?
You got to be yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to know who you are. A lot of the competition was we had to sell our dishes, right? So telling them why we did something and being able to get them in our thought process and in our head. So I think if you're being genuinely yourself, you have a clear point of view already, just explain that,
Yeah.
Sell them on your dish, on your idea. But I think it's really important to be authentic to yourself, especially in any type of content, media, on TV, representing yourself, you got to be true to you.
And what long term do you think that you're going to be able to take from that experience and sort of just use for the rest of your life?
Ooh. Definitely that where you are in a current place and time doesn't have to be the end of your story. You can always change your path, right? You can always decide that you want to do something differently, and it's just about your first action, the first step that you choose to take.
Interesting. What cooking shows do you enjoy watching?
Oh, what cooking shows?
Yeah.
I love Top Chef.
Yeah?
I can't get enough.
What is
I
it
love
about Top Chef? I've never really gotten into that one. I don't know.
What?
I have no idea why.
Wow, I love Top Chef. I think I love watching like professionals, masters of their craft really do their thing. Top Chef is really good at highlighting a lot of the technique and really getting into the contestants' heads, right? So you have all these amazing chefs competing. They have their own culinary perspective, point of view, restaurants, all these things that they've done, and you get to see how they attack a challenge. So they all have to make not the same thing, but they have the same parameters to make a dish. But seeing how each one of them attacks it is great.
Yeah.
How they visually shoot it, how you see the food, I love it.
Yeah.
And I love Padma Lakshmi. I think she's really great. So,
Is that the show that Alex Blue just won?
I think so.
With
Top
Gordon
Chef?
Ramsay?
No,
Yeah.
no, Gordon Ramsay.
Or,
That's
sorry, I'm thinking wrong. It's at Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, Hell's.
Right?
He has Hell's and MasterChef.
MasterChef? I don't even.
He has
I
Hell's
can't
Kitchen
keep up
and
with
MasterChef.
everything.
It's so many.
Chef. I don't know.
No,
Okay.
but yeah, there are a lot.
I was gonna say, one of our friends, Taylor Desson, who's been on the show before, and he's one of our clients and stuff. Alex Ballou made the food for his wedding,
Oh, dope.
and they're like really close, good friends.
That's pretty dope.
And we almost did some website work for him during COVID because he wanted to do like home delivery meals.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's kind of cool to see, a few years later, him going on the show and winning.
That is cool, and that's
Yeah.
interesting during COVID, home delivery meals.
Yeah, and like I don't know his whole background, but similar thing where it's like cooking was not a thing where, as I understand, was not ever really a goal. It was a passion.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating to see so many people come at these programs from so many different avenues.
No, for real. Like, I know when I was on the show, the contestants ranged from people who worked in freelance marketing. One guy was a pharmacist. It was just a wide variety of people. It's amazing how food connects us.
Yeah. Who's your favorite celebrity chef that maybe you want to work with at some point?
Ooh, Tanya Holland. She had her cookbook, Brown Sugar Kitchen. It's like a soul food cookbook.
Yeah.
And usually I'm not a big like cookbook follow directions person. I just kind of get the gist. I can run from there.
Yeah.
But one year for Thanksgiving, I was like, I'm going to cook, only recipes from her book. And I'm going to follow the recipe to a T. I'm going to pay attention. And I did them. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And like now that I'm going through the process of writing a cookbook, it's very difficult because you have to write it in a way to where people get the same outcome each time.
I was going to say, I've never, and now this is obviously a me problem, but I've never gotten a recipe from somebody that's like, hey, you've eaten this at my restaurant. You can make this at home. Here's how. I've never been able to recreate that. What's like,
It's hard.
Is it technique? Is it tools?
I think
Is
a lot of it,
something else?
Well, I know with me, like how I cook, I taste, I throw a little bit of this in, I throw a little bit of that in. I'm just kind of feeling it, right? So explaining that, writing that down is a little bit hard, right? How do you tell somebody, cook it till it looks done? What is that, right? You have to give them a temperature or a visual cue. So I think that is hard, being able to just write down the steps. But then cooking it is a technical skill, but it's also too, you got to feel the food. It's love, it's comfort that goes into it.
So cookbooks, obviously written form, it's a book, very just black and white, like do this information. I mean, in this digital age, is there such thing as giving content along with the cookbook that can convey exactly what you just said?
Oh, absolutely.
So that I can feel it and hear it?
Absolutely. I think through like recipe reels, right? If we're just talking about content that performs really well on social as it pertains to food, recipe reels are great. People love to see that. They like to see the kind of the process. And I follow different people who show that in a different way, from the lighting to the music to how they, transition from their clips to give that kind of warmth feel to make you feel like you're there.
But do they do that with cookbooks though? Like if you had you're doing your book right now. Like, could you approach the publisher and say, I want to do a digital product with this as well, where there's maybe
absolutely.
some videos that go with this?
Yes.
So they can hear me and see me, and I can convey that, like, I put down two tablespoons is really just like, I don't know, I'm feeling it. You know what I mean?
No, definitely, yeah. And that's what we're working on too, making it a whole kind of immersive experience, to where you can have the book, read it, QR code to see a video. You can even order all the groceries connected through Amazon for the groceries.
That's smart. That's cool.
Yeah, because
so that exists already? I have no idea.
Yeah, so what was it? America's Test Kitchen Next Generation came out through Amazon Freebie. So we're partnered with Amazon Freebie, Amazon Fresh, to where if you go on their website and look at any of their recipes, similar to with the book, you can order all the groceries directly.
Got it.
To
I
your
want to do
door.
this recipe, and it automatically just knows.
Yep.
Boom.
It'll
That's
add it
what
to
I
your
need.
cart, and you can get it sent to you.
This world is so crazy. I love it.
I know.
Would you like that, though? Like, not being able to go in and pick up a piece of produce yourself? Do you trust somebody to just walk through and give you something good?
It depends. I think certain things, I am pretty picky. I like to go into the store. Other things, like canned things, you know, not so much. But produce, I think that's where you have to have good people who know what they're doing. Or you can use the same shopper.
There you go.
Yeah.
Teach the shopper, and now they know your preferences, right? Kinda like a
Exactly.
VA.
There you go. Listen.
We'll bring it all back home.
Exactly. Full circle. Great conversation.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, I really appreciate all of your time coming on here. Congrats again.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see you on season 23, I guess.
Yes.
See what kind of role you have there. When's the cookbook come out?
Q4.
Okay.
So,
cool.
yeah.
I'm going to be diving into that. I got to make
Absolutely.
something. I love making food.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you a question. What's your favorite thing to make?
Oh. Usually some sort of like taco something.
Ooh.
Like I like twists on them, of course, not just like a standard thing. But I don't know. I've been on some kick for the last few years of just like there's something about that, like the texture combinations that are possible there, whether it's crunchy or chewy or something, and sweet and salty and all of that.
All the different components.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Interesting. I have a burrito taco recipe that I have to work on this week.
Okay.
So,
Well, send it over.
listen, I know I'll have lots. I'll have to send y'all a
Oh
plate.
my gosh. So where can we learn more about Elevated Assist?
Yes.
And maybe, well, I guess we could go to Amazon Prime. Is that where you watch the show?
Yeah, so if you want to watch America's Test Kitchen, The Next Generation, we're on Amazon Freebie.
Oh, Freebie. That's
Yes.
right. Yeah.
So that's how you watch the show. If you want to get connected with Elevated Assist, learn more about virtual assistants. And of course, we do service digital entrepreneurs and professional athletes. But if you're an entrepreneur who wants to get into the digital space, or if you're an entrepreneur who wants to up your social media presence, you can go to elevatedassist.com. You can schedule a discovery call with me, and then we'll walk through your goals for the next 3 months and show you how we can help.
That's awesome. We got Lance running a Polaroid in the background. You can probably hear it. It's funny.
The paparazzi in the back.
Yeah, I just bought that because I thought it would be fun to start doing a little collage of
No,
the
it's
events
cool.
and things that go on. And,
Yeah, I think the Polaroids go with the vibe in here too.
Right?
I like it.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.